We put so much effort, so much energy into trying to change ourselves directly, like just willing ourselves to be different.
Yeah, pushing against
Yeah,
something. It often feels like trying to grow a giant tree just by, I don't know, yelling encouragement at a seed sitting on pavement.
exactly. No sun, no water, no soil, and it won't work.
And maybe the secret isn't just the seed or our willpower. It's the soil. It's the light, the whole ecosystem we're actually in.
That's exactly what we've been digging into, this really powerful set of ideas that kind of flips the script. It suggests transformation isn't primarily about changing you first. It's about understanding and then deliberately shaping the environments around you.
Right. Because those environments, they're the forces that really push for or even compel lasting growth, whether that's in your work, how you lead, or just, how you evolve as a person.
hmm And this isn't just about like quick tips or superficial changes.
No, not at all. It's getting down to the bedrock principles. How do you actually construct the spaces, the systems that don't just allow change, but almost demand it, make it the natural path?
Okay, so our mission here in this deep dive is to really pull out these core principles, these kind of blueprints for building transformative spaces, and then see how we can actually apply them to be more effective, more insightful maybe.
And build things that actually last.
Yeah.
So where do we start? I think the first big idea is just widening our definition of environment.
Okay, so it's not just my office or the room I'm in.
Right. It's way more than the physical stuff. It includes the conceptual spaces you think in, like frameworks or mental models. It's the emotional climate, the vibe in your team, your family. It's your own internal mindset, too. And crucially, it's the tools and systems you use every single day. They all add up.
So it's this whole ecosystem influencing us constantly. And there's this fascinating idea you mentioned about wearing your environment. What does that really mean?
It's about immersion, really deep immersion. So deep that it's not just an external influence anymore. It actually starts to rewire you, changes your nervous system, your habits, your thinking over time. That's where the real deep transformation happens. It's not just thinking about it, it's living in it.
Wow. Okay. So that really forces you to ask,
Right.
Are the environments I'm wearing right now actually aligned with who I want to become?
Precisely. Think about that image. The rebellious pastor's kid. They're physically in this very structured religious environment, right? But internally, maybe their loyalty, their real environment is with a totally different peer group, different values. That gap, that misalignment shows why just going through the motions on the surface doesn't change you deep down.
Right. The internal and external are fighting each other.
Exactly. So you don't just stumble into new habits or transformation. The idea is you have to consciously build these immersive environments, physical, digital, mental sumpia, that automatically over time start to reshape you. They make the new way the easier way.
Okay, that makes sense. And that flows right into the next point, doesn't it? About tools not just being passive aids.
Yes. They are living environments themselves. Think about structured forms for coaching sessions or detailed checklists for onboarding a new client or project management software.
Yeah, things we use all the time.
They're not just static documents or programs. When you consistently live through these structured tools, they actively shape your behavior. They build a certain rhythm.
Like using a specific intake form for every client forces you to ask the same crucial questions, right?
Yeah.
You can't just skip stuff.
Exactly. Or using a project setup sheet ensures you think through resources and risks up front every single time. It cultivates a specific kind of insight, a type of procedural intelligence that you just wouldn't get if you approached it differently each time. It sculpts how you work.
So the tool stops being just a thing you use and becomes part of your mental landscape, part of the environment you inhabit.
Precisely. It's integrated, not just external anymore.
Okay, so if these external tools and systems are environments, what about the internal environment? What kind of mindset or approach do we need?
Well, the principles really hammer home the need for rigor and keen observation. That real growth, real mastery in anything complex demands disciplined thinking. It demands frameworks built on what you actually see, not just what you assume.
So like a diagnostic approach.
Yes, very much so, especially in advisory work or leadership. High-quality contributions often start not with jumping to solutions, but with really deep observation.
Noticing what specifically?
Everything, not just the words someone says, but their emotional state, the
Yeah.
pace of their speech. Is there an underlying tension in their story? What are they not saying? That's the raw data.
That's a lot to take in, though. How do you process all that observational data?
That's where structured thinking comes in. One key principle mentioned is MECE logic, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive.
MCE. Okay, break that down.
Think about sorting laundry. It's simple, but it works. Your red socks go on the colors pile, right? Only the colors pile. That's mutually exclusive.
Got it. No overlap.
And all your piles together, whites, colors, darks, whatever they have to cover all the laundry, nothing left over. That's collectively exhaustive.
Okay. So each piece of information, each aspect of a problem fits neatly into one specific category, and all the categories together cover the whole issue without gaps or redundancy.
Exactly. It brings clarity and structure to complexity. It prevents you from chasing your tail or missing crucial parts. That kind of disciplined thinking is presented as absolutely foundational.
So the big takeaway there is it's not just about intuition or gut feelings. Real quality work is built on this bedrock of thoughtfulness, reflection, and a structured way of diagnosing what's actually going on.
Right. Observation process through rigor. And building on that, there's another powerful layer. Understanding the narrative.
The stories we live in.
Essentially, yes. The idea is that every person, every team, every situation is operating within a story. And if you want to genuinely connect or influence or help someone transform, you first have to grasp their story. Where are they in it?
And not just the story itself, but the tension.
That's the crucial part. Identifying where the tension lives in their narrative right now. Is it, using the hero's journey model? Are they at the refusal of the call? Are they stuck there?
Or maybe doubting if they even have what it takes, like capability tension.
Precisely. These narrative structures, these elements of tension, they become diagnostic lenses. The core insight is that real influence doesn't come from pushing your own agenda. It comes from accurately diagnosing where someone is in their own story and speaking directly to that specific point of friction, that tension.
Meeting them right where they are in their narrative. That's powerful.
It really is. It shifts the whole dynamic.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. There's this concept introduced called Saturn energy. What's that about? It sounds astrological.
It borrows the name, but frames it as a type of energy. The energy of structure, of systems, of discipline. Almost a kind of spiritual rigor, you could say. It's the slow, deliberate, heavy force that builds things designed to endure.
As opposed to
quick, impulsive, Mars-like energy, maybe. Something fast and fleeting. Saturn is about the long haul, the foundations.
And how does this connect back to building environments?
Well, it connects profoundly. Choosing the path of transformation, in this view, means choosing system building. It means committing to the consistent, often unglamorous daily practice. It means embracing the slowness, the weight, the demands of this Saturnian energy.
So it's saying that real change requires patience and structure?
Yes. And that spiritual discipline, just showing up, doing the work, day in, day out, and practical business logic, they actually merge here. They meet in the slow, persistent effort needed to build robust systems. Systems that demand maturity and endurance. That's the Saturn work.
That makes sense. Building things that last takes time and consistent effort.
Absolutely. And speaking of building things, especially in contexts where maybe formal structures are weak, another core principle highlighted is that business fundamentally operates on trust.
Right. Especially when you don't have, say, robust legal systems, easily accessible everywhere, or perfect enforcement.
Exactly. In those situations, your reputation, your follow-through, your basic credibility that becomes paramount. Your word is your bond, quite literally.
So your character essentially becomes the currency.
It becomes the infrastructure. Think about true partnerships or apprenticeships or deep collaborations. They aren't built just on contracts, even if contracts exist. They're built on mutual respect, on seeing someone consistently deliver, on knowing you can rely on them.
Yeah, the paper is secondary to the relationship.
Often, yes. So the powerful idea here is where strong external systems are lacking, your personal integrity, your character, isn't just a nice to have. It is the foundation people build upon.
Okay. And building trust, building relationships, that leads naturally into leadership, doesn't it?
It does. And the perspective here is on leadership through relationship and genuine delegation, not just control.
What does that look like in practice?
It means understanding that real growth for you and for others happens when you're simultaneously training people and building your own systems. They have to happen together.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Maybe encouraging a team member to bring their apprentice, someone they are mentoring, into a client meeting. Or deliberately handing off a significant piece of the client generation process, not just tasks, but responsibility.
So it's about empowerment, not just offloading work.
Exactly. True leadership, in this view, is built through authentic connection and empowering others to step up, take ownership, and grow within the systems you're creating together. It's not about hoarding control.
Letting go to grow,
You
essentially.
could put it that way, yes.
Yeah.
Letting go of soul control to allow collective growth and capability building.
And thinking about building capability, what about systems for outreach? For finding clients or collaborators?
Right. The principles link teaching directly to prospecting. The idea is that structured value delivery, basically, teaching what you know in a systematic way, is a powerful way to build trust and attract the right people.
Like running webinars.
That's a great example. Developing, say, a very specific webinar for a niche type of business you want to work with. You use simple tools, structure your knowledge, teach authentically.
And the people who resonate with that, the ones who get value, they naturally become warmer leads.
Exactly. It's a repeatable system. It turns teaching into trust, and trust often into opportunity, sales, partnerships, whatever it might be.
And this connects to that study while you build idea.
Yes, precisely. It's the philosophy that growth isn't just something you plan for the future. You live it now. Your business, your daily work within these systems you're building should be the school for your next level of leadership and for those you're mentoring.
So the business itself becomes a learning environment, a living school.
A living school. I like that. Constantly learning, applying, refining, teaching.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Environments beyond the physical, tools as living structures, the need for rigor and observation, understanding narrative, the Saturn energy of building, trust as infrastructure, leadership through delegation, outreach systems. How do we pull this all together?
Well, there's a principle about how ideas actually become reality. It suggests that abstract ideas manifest much faster, much more powerfully, when they're spoken, shared, and processed structurally.
Just thinking about it isn't enough.
It's a start, but articulation is key. Think about answering specific questions from a mentor about a vague idea you have. Suddenly, you're forced to clarify it, structure it, maybe
Yeah.
even sketch out a tool based on it,
Right. The act of explaining it makes it more real.
or mapping out a complex thought using a framework, or even just clearly stating your intentions, your desires, in a focused way, writing them down in a structured plan, maybe. It turns the nebulous into something concrete.
Creates intention pipelines, as you called it earlier. Speaking it into a structured space makes it a blueprint.
Exactly. It gives it form and direction.
Which brings us, I think, to the ultimate point of all this, the culmination.
Yes. The peak insight, really.
Right.
Which is, you must ultimately become the environment you wish to create or invite others into.
Whoa. Okay. Unpack that.
It means your business, your team, your projects. Ultimately, they are reflections. Reflections of your own internal state, your own cadence, your structure, your integrity.
So if things feel chaotic or unstable in the system, look inward first.
That's often the most productive place to start. Remember this Saturn energy. Building things that last requires integrity over time. The most fundamental system you operate within, the most powerful environment you create, is actually yourself, your own presence, your consistency.
So my fancy frameworks, my checklists, my systems, they only really work if I embody the principles behind them.
That's the core idea. They derive their power from your consistency, your integrity, your embodiment of what they represent. A great blueprint is useless if the builder cuts corners or doesn't show up consistently.
Right. The tool is only as good as the person wielding it with integrity.
Precisely. So the ultimate environment isn't something you just build externally. It's something you become. You walk your talk so powerfully with such consistency that others are drawn into that world you embody.
They're not just buying a service. They're drawn to the transformation you represent. You become the thing they were looking for.
That's the deepest level of it.
Yeah.
Transformation made real through your presence, reflected in the environments you build, starting with yourself.
Wow. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up, this deep dive. It's shown that transformation isn't just about willpower. It's about consciously building and inhabiting environments.
Right. Environments that include our tools, our systems, which are living things shaping us. And building these requires discipline, sharp observation, understanding the stories people are in.
And building trust,
Yeah.
leading through empowerment, creating systems for outreach and learning.
And recognizing that ideas become real when we give them structure, when we articulate them.
And ultimately, the most powerful environment we can possibly build is ourselves, embodying the very principles we want to see in our work and world.
That's the heart of it, becoming the environment.
So the final thought for everyone listening, if transformation is something you build, not something you just wish for, what environment are you going to start constructing, starting today?
Yeah. Maybe just reflect on which of these principles really hit home for you right now. Where's the most important place to start that architectural work? Is it a personal habit? A tool?
Hmm.
A relationship dynamic? The deep work starts with that first deliberate act of building.